Let's dive into the main content for today. So we're looking at agent mode and how we can use that to automate a lot of what we do. This is fascinating. It came out middle of July 2025, so it's not been out that long, but it's got the potential to be extraordinary. What we'll look at today is what is agent mode. Let's get practical. Let's talk about what we can use it for in our businesses. What's it best for? How can we use it? So let's start with what it is. It's a combination of two separate tools that came out originally back in January 2025. One of those is one of my favorite features. It's deep research. So deep research came shortly after DeepSeek. DeepSeek back in December got all the press, but then OpenAI had deep research up its sleeve, released that, and it was even better. I love deep research. If you haven't used it, you definitely want to check it out. And even if you're on a free plan now, I think you can do a few deep researchers inside ChatGPT. I love it for any type of research, like buying stuff is great. I use it all the time if I'm looking to buy any products. I just use a prompt that I've created. So it's a combination of deep research, but also Operator. Now, Operator you probably have never heard of because they brought out Operator again, I think it was January 2025, but I could be wrong on that. It was about that time. And it only came out on the Pro plan, the $200 a month plan. I do have that so that I know what's coming to tell you about. When they brought out Operator, it was a bit disappointing. Essentially, Operator would go and do things. This agent mode is effectively a combination of those two things. It does deep research and then it goes and does things. I think it's better than the Operator now. It is getting better since it was released about 8 weeks ago. It's already improving. It's improving all the time. So what does it allow us to do? Essentially, agent mode goes and does things. If you've used deep research, what that does is it goes off and searches the internet and does much more deeper research than just turning on the search facility. If you just turn on search, which is great, search tends to only look at typically 5 different sites and usually the ones that are higher up on Google rankings. Deep research will go in much deeper, typically 20 odd different sources they'll look for and sometimes obscure things. Research does a really good job. And the report's always amazing, but the reports are always text-based. It reads stuff from websites and gives you the output. What Agent does is it actually opens up on your screen, as you'll soon see, a little virtual desktop, and you'll watch it clicking on buttons. It will click through to things, and that opens up all sorts of possibilities with autonomous workflows. It can go and do research, analyzing, clicking on stuff, and you can leave it doing that while you're getting on with your work. You could even set it to do these things on a schedule, so it could do it overnight, so in the morning it's done the piece of work from you. Essentially, it's shifting the emphasis away from simply just chatting to doing stuff, to interacting with apps, to interacting with websites. It's pretty extraordinary what it can do. There are so many possibilities. Now, there are a few teething problems, some issues. It sometimes crashes, sometimes it misclicks on things, just like a human does. So we might have to step in. But one of the things we can do is step in. We can, as it's going through its process, we can pause it, we can correct it, we can add additional comments and say, no, don't do that, do this instead. We can correct it. And we can also take over control. Sometimes we will need to do that if it's clicking into a site where it needs a password. I think the best way to explain it is to give you some use cases and then we'll dive into ChatGPT and look at it. Before I do the demonstration, let's talk about some things we can do with this agent mode on. We can use it, for example, if you're doing bookkeeping tasks, we can get it to go into our accounting software, whether you're using Xero, whether you're using QBO, and we could do things like, we could get it to go into QBO and do a supplier reconciliation. One of the members of my AI community does that, and it works really well for supplier reconciliations. He also used it to go into QBO and journal weekly payroll costs, which I thought was interesting. We could get it to go into accounting software and fix broken bank feeds. There's a prompt that I've put in the AI Academy as part of my training course that does exactly that, and I test it out on my QBO and it works really, really well. We can do all sorts of accounting tasks by going into accounting software, but we can also use it for many, many other things. We could use it for competitor research. One of the things we can do is not just go to their websites, but because it can click on things and do things, it can start to go into things like forums and review sites, things like Reddit, and look for things like customer feedback, which would take us hours to do manually. It can do it in a fraction of the time. That's a really powerful use case if you want to do any form of competitor research. And the prompt I'll show you today, you'll probably want to try out in your firm. If you're an accounting firm doing business advisory work and want to advise clients, one of the things you could do to add value to businesses you work with is competitor research on their behalf in a matter of minutes, then share the report with them, and they'll think you spent half a day, a full day doing it. It's a great way to add value. It's really good for organizing unstructured data and making it structured. I have a home gym here, and one of the things I do is have one of these fancy scales that if you stand on it with bare feet, you also hold something, and it measures your body mass composition and creates a report which is a PNG image with all sorts of data. It's really complicated. What I do is I usually put it into ChatGPT, and it uses its image functionality to read that image, extract the data, and give me information about it. With agent mode, I fed it a whole bunch of these, and I said I want you to analyze all of them, get all of the data, and build me an Excel spreadsheet or CSV file showing me over the weeks and months of the data all the key metrics. And it was really powerful. I was amazed how well it did that. So how could you benefit from that if you're an accounting firm doing bookkeeping and so on? One of the things you could do with it is if you get unstructured data from clients, information that you want to structure and put into a CSV file, for example, perhaps it's information for their tax return. And let's say it's a restaurant and they've got daily taking sheets and they're all handwritten. You could take those handwritten images, stick them into ChatGPT and get agent mode to analyze it, structure it, and put it into a CSV file ready to upload into your accounting system. That's a really powerful use case, creating structured data from unstructured data. Also, if you want to hook it up to Google, you could set a weekly agent task where it goes into your Google calendar, perhaps on Sunday night, and it looks at all of the meetings that you've got scheduled for the week ahead. And then what it could do is it could identify who is the meeting with, do some research to find out what's the latest news with that particular person you're meeting, and then give you a report. So that during the course of the week, as you're meeting various people, you've got a report that tells you about some of the latest stuff they've been working on, or if they're in the news, something to give you a conversation around. And that could be done all inside an agentic prompt. You could do it for lead generation, building up an email list. There are so many possible use cases, so many things that we can do. It's really powerful. Let me go across to ChatGPT now. Where do you find agent mode first of all? Well, where you'll find it is the plus icon. It's one of the tools. You just need to hit the plus button and select agent mode. You'll see that you've got agent mode turned on with an X, so you can turn it back off again if you made a mistake. So that's how you access the tools. If you don't see them on the list, sometimes I find the list doesn't always appear. The other way of doing it is to hold the slash key and then it lists them. We need to make sure we turn on agent mode first to start it. Because it's fairly new, it does give you all sorts of suggestions of things you could do. So you might want to play with some of these for a bit of fun if you are new to it and want to see what it can do. One of the things that's interesting with it is that when it's done its deep research, whatever it needs to do, it can then create outputs in terms of, for example, a spreadsheet. It can build a spreadsheet, a CSV file. It does a very good job of that. If you're an accounting firm owner, obviously we like spreadsheets. It can also build PowerPoint presentations, but I find that a little bit limited because the design is pretty awful. There are other AI tools for building presentations if that's what you want, but give it a go. It gets the text and stuff great, but I find the presentations themselves are a little bit ugly and you need to do a lot of work to tidy them up. But spreadsheets are really good if you want to create some structured data. Okay, so that's how we turn on agent mode. Let's look for something we can do. And I'm going to go across to the prompt library. I have this prompt library software that you have access to where I've created dozens of prompts. that are ready to use, copy and paste across different categories, prompts for financial analysis, business strategy, marketing, content creation, and even some fun personal use cases. We have all these prompts, and I'm going to a new category that I've set up, an agentic prompt. I've written a bunch of different agentic prompts for various things. Let's look at competitor customer sentiment. Let me grab this prompt. The great thing about the prompt library, if you use it, is you just find the prompt, click copy as markdown to clipboard, go to ChatGPT and simply paste it in. There's your prompt ready to use. Let's imagine that you are an accounting firm. You're the owner of an accounting firm in Bedford in the UK. I've just picked a random place. I grew up in Bedford. So let's imagine that you are an accounting firm in Bedford and you're thinking about your strategy. You're thinking about your marketing strategy and you want to look at your competitors. What are your competitors doing well? What are they doing not so well? And also, what do your competitors' clients think of them? What sort of feedback is floating around the internet on things that people like and don't like about competing firms? This is a really powerful prompt, great things we can do with agent mode, which is why I chose this particular one. And if you're a forward-thinking accounting firm owner, you could use this as part of advisory work and do this for clients. I'll take you through the prompt in a little while. Those of you that follow me regularly will know that prompt engineering is really important. The more specificity we have in our prompts, the more predictable and better the output. I did a live stream last week on prompting with GPT-5. So we've now got GPT-5, which we now have learned we need to build in some new techniques when we craft our prompts, particularly for agentic prompts. When I create these prompts in the prompt library, many people, if you use them regularly, you'll know I often have variables at the end. For context, I've put it in the middle. You need to give it some details of you, your firm. What is your business? Where's it located? What sort of clients do you have? What are the main offers? What's the website? What are known competitors? And the reason why you'd want it as a template like this is you could run it for your business first. That would be a great thing to do. But then anytime you want to do this for a client, all you have to do is fill in these details. And if you want a shortcut to filling in these details, I'm going to put some details in here. Let me just grab this information. Accounting firm in Bedford, business type chartered accountants, located in Bedford, UK. Here's the ideal clients. Here's the main offerings. Here's the website. I've chosen Cowley Homes. It's a firm I know of in the UK. If you're watching from Cowley Homes, you might find this interesting. And I've got the competitors, of which I know at least one of these firms very well. There's one very good firm here. So you just need to put that information in. A little tip, if you're using a prompt like this, I did a little shortcut. I did a separate prompt and I put in the website of Cowley Homes. You could do this with your website. Rather than typing all this in, you could just put your website in and then copy and paste what was here originally and say, give me the answers to these questions. Let's look at the prompt in a bit more detail. Let's go through it from start to finish. I won't go through it line by line because there's some advanced stuff in here. I just want to give you an idea and teach you a few prompt engineering techniques. So we have various sections because using Markdown, this is the hashtags, it creates a structure. And one of the things we know is that when we have more structure in our prompts, it really helps the AI system follow them. We also want to give it a role to play. So I'm asking ChatGPT to play the role of a market research analyst. And what we know is that this gives better results if we tell it to play a particular role. We'll get the sort of response we'd expect from a market researcher. And then we've got the objective or the goal. When you are crafting a prompt for agentic tasks, arguably the most important element is to specify the goal or the objective. What is the goal that you're trying to achieve? It will figure out the best way to achieve the goal, and that does mean that if we have a really clear objective or goal specified at the start of our prompt, we can get away with a less specific prompt because it will figure that out. So always make sure that you have your objective or goal in your prompt. Now we then have some other things here which are more advanced, and I have a separate course all about agent mode and prompt engineering. But this section here, where it says begin with a concise checklist of 3 to 7 bullets of what you will do, keep items conceptual, not implementation level, is because, again, the research team at OpenAI have said that what they found in all their research is if you get the agent to start off the process by telling you what it's going to do in a high level, a checklist, then it's more likely to accurately do those things and give you a better output. So So that's why I often have something like that in my agentic prompts to ask it to start with coming up with a checklist of what it will do. Then we have the context. This is the business details that I copied and pasted. If I was the owner of this firm, I would put in Chartered Accountants, Bedfordshire, and so on. Basically, it's done all this based on the company's website. Then I've got the objective again. I've repeated the objective here. And then we've got specifically what we want it to do. We want it to do competitor research. So start off by using its browsing facility to look for the top 5 to 10 competitors relevant to the business. And then what I want it to do is research each of those competing accounting firms and tell me, what are the key features and benefits? What do they do? What are their unique selling points? What do they say are their differentiators? Have they got any proof, like testimonials, ratings, case studies, and give me the URLs so I can check them out if I want to. That's the first thing I want it to do, and I want it to give it to me in a CSV file with these fields, and here's an example of what a record might look like. All I'm doing here is being very specific in terms of what do I want it, what's the output, what do I want it to give me? I want it to give me a CSV file with these fields. You might want a report, you might want a PowerPoint presentation being created. That's entirely up to you. I feel like for this, a CSV file is most useful. In part 2, I wanted to then go and collect verbatim quotes from clients. This really illustrates the power of agent mode, because I'm specifying that I want it to look for client quotes relevant to those firms using public platforms like Reddit, Quora, YouTube comments, Google reviews, Yelp, Capterra, Trustpilot, etc. Because what it does, it will then go and click through, and this is the agentic side, it will go through and click buttons to find the comments. This is one of the really powerful things about agent mode, where it clicks on buttons inside websites. When it comes across a quote from a client of competing accounting firms, I want it to tag it. Is it a problem? Is it a complaint? Is it a praise? My deliverable is a CSV file. I've given an example of what I want. And it's a deliverable. Give me a pie chart of the top complaint themes. What are the biggest complaints that people are saying about my competing accounting firms? And then I want a summary. What are the good things my competitors are doing in terms of their offers, the features, the messaging? What are the good things that I could learn from and copy? And what are the bad things? What are all the complaints, the pain points, the problems that I can then make sure that I address in my business and perhaps build some USPs around those so I stand out as being a go-to firm? And then I've just clarified again the output format here, the spreadsheets and the pie chart. That is the prompt. Essentially, we're analyzing my competitors, we're looking at what they're good at, they're bad at, we're going across all their websites, reviewing stuff, and then we're going to dive in and look for client quotes. Right, I've got that done. Let me just hit the button, and we're not going to see the end output here because agent mode can take a little bit of time. Sometimes it can do it in 2 or 3 minutes, and sometimes it can take, my record is 48 minutes. So you can see it's now saying setting up my desktop. It's now creating a little virtual desktop. What it's also doing first, because I told it to, is it's now telling me what it's going to do. You can see now that it's opened up the desktop, it's searching the web. We can see what it's clicking on, and it's giving commentary as it goes. I find this fascinating. It's going through all these different accounting firms in Bedford. It's researching, clicking on buttons, looking for stuff. We have 3 little buttons at the top here. If we click on those 3 buttons, we can see the activity in terms of text, what it's doing. We can stop it if we need to hit a stop button and take over the browser. What that means is that we can step in at any point in time. We can click on that button and start clicking on some buttons wherever they are in the site. So we have an element of control here. What we can also do is in the chat below, it says follow up. And what that means is that whilst it's doing its thing, we can correct it, for example, we can give it feedback. If we're watching it and it's doing something wrong, we can actually type in and say, hang on a second, that's not right. I want you to be looking for this, this, and this. And it will then correct its course. That can be really useful. I do find it a bit addictive watching these things. I'm fascinated at the thought process it's going through, the buttons it's clicking on. But as I say, sometimes it's quick, it can be done in 2 minutes. Sometimes it might take much longer. So often 5 to 10 minutes. So these are the sorts of things that you want to, let's just get on with the task while you do some different work. You can have multiple agents running at the same time. I use ChatGPT all the time. got ChatGPT open in multiple tabs, multiple browsers, multiple computers. I'm using it constantly for everything I do. I will have it open on the Mac desktop app. I'll have it in Chrome. I'll have it open in Safari. I usually have a minimum of 3 versions open and doing stuff at the same time. So you could certainly be running multiple agents if you want to do lots of different tasks all at the same time. I'm going to let it do its thing and see. It may or may not give us an output, I don't know, before the end of the live stream. I hope it will, but let me show you another one I did earlier. Let me talk about another idea that you could, another use case. You could use it for list building. Let's imagine you are that firm in Bedford and you decide that you want to get some more clients in a particular niche. It may be that you are looking for plumbing firms and you want to build up a database, the contact details of other plumbing firms in your area, in the Bedford area, if that's where you were based. If I go back to my prompt library, I have one that I've created called List Building Agent, and this particular agent will build up an email list for you and output it into a CSV file. I'm not going to copy and paste that because I've got this one running already. I'm going to open up one I did earlier. Let me open up the sidebar and I'm looking for List Building Agent. Okay, so I ran this particular prompt. This is a skilled business research assistant and it's going to research. If I go to the end for a second, I've put in the variables. I want 20 email addresses, 20 contact details. I am in Bedford in the UK and I want plumbers. I'm looking for plumbers. So you could just, that's the variables. With this prompt, if you're looking to build an email list, just specify how many contact details, where are you based, and you're looking for plumbers, restaurants, engineering firms, whatever it might be. And it will do the task. Essentially, the task is to do research. And so it said, here's the proposed plan for compiling a list of 20 plumbers in Bedford. So it's telling me what it's going to do now based on the prompt, because it's good practice to get it to tell us in advance what is it going to do. This is a bit like, by the way, with humans. If you've got a new hire and you want them to go and do a bank reconciliation and perhaps they've not got a huge amount of experience, if they just go away and do the bank reconciliation in silence, they'll probably come back and do it wrong. But if you get them to tell you what is the goal, what's the objective of the work they're going to do, and then to think about and tell you the steps they're going to go through, if they tell you those steps and they make sense, they're more likely to do the job right in the first place. So that's why this is such a great tip when we are prompting for agentic tasks. Get it to tell you in advance what it's going to do. And so that's what it did. It thought about what's the workflow, and here it is when I ran this prompt. And then it thought through a little bit more. This took 36 minutes. It searched 64 searches across 429 sources. I can't show the virtual desktop. Once it's finished, that's it done. This is just the end result. It created a CSV file that I could download. Let me just do that. So I'm just downloading this CSV file and that should be done. So if I go to my downloads, let me open that up and show you if I switch across to screen. This is what it created a list of 20 plumbing firms in the Bedford area. It's given me their website. It's given the name of the owner. It's given the email. Now, 2 of them, it couldn't get an email address, but the rest did. I could have asked for other bits of information. If you wanted to take this to another level, you could use a prompt to do research to build up an email list of your target market, let's say plumbers. What you could then do is run an agentic task that writes the emails for you. And in the first prompt, you could ask it to identify something about that particular firm. If it's in the news, you could write a series of emails, but rather than one generic email to go to all 20 of these new leads, you could get ChatGPT to write an individualized email where it might personalize it with something it's found from its research. They may have published a new press release to grab their attention. You could connect to your Google account and it could draft the emails and send them out automatically. All of this stuff can be done with agent mode. It's insane how powerful the potential it has. The limits largely our imagination. Same with agent mode. You're going to soon find the more you use it, you'll be using it for so many things, automating so many things in your accounting firm. Okay, so that's lead generation. Let me go back to, I think it's done. We've done this task now, so it didn't take too long. It's probably about, 10 minutes. And what it's now done is 7 minutes. It worked for 7 minutes. It did 9 searches, 81 sources. And the first thing it's given me 2 Excel CSV files. One is the competitor research and the other one's the customer feedback. It's also given me a pie chart of the most common complaints. So what is the most common complaints our competitors get? It's split between fairly evenly high fees or price, poor or negative advice, lack of information or transparency. We've then got a summary report here as well that's useful with tactics and things that we could do to capitalize and do what they're doing well and also avoid the various complaints. We've got our links to our 2 CSV files, pie charts there, and then we've got the report. And then if I do open up the CSV files it's given us on our customer research, let's just open those up. This is the competitors, it's research, it's got information about them, the address, the URL, what they do, it's got what they do well or what they say they do well, like Xero cloud specialists, no hidden costs, and so on. There's so much information here about these competitors that we could use when we're building our marketing strategy. That's the first spreadsheet. The second one then is gone and researched what customers have said about them. So Tax Assist Letchworth saved us overpaying our capital gains tax requirement. That's on the complaint. Avoid this company. They do not respond to complaints and only send you back to the branch you had a problem with. And we can find out more information here, which firm that is, and so on. I think that's really fascinating, the quality and the depth of the research that it did in, how many minutes was that? I can't remember. In 7 minutes, we got all that really powerful information. What should we talk about next? Let's look at some of the limitations. And if you want to go deeper on this, if you're starting to see the power of agent mode and you want to start using it in your firm, I have just completed a course. I've got one more video to upload and the course is in the AI Academy. If you're not in the AI Academy, I've got lots of courses here. Rebecca's just joined. Thank you, Rebecca. I've got lots of courses here, one of which is the brand new Agent Mode Essentials. In here, I go through in a lot more detail agent mode, including in much more detail use cases, and I've written all the prompts. You've got the prompts you can use whenever you want. And then I've just got some advanced tips and one more video to upload. So if you want to find out more, that course is in the AI Academy, along with many other courses on how to get more out of ChatGPT. Let me wrap up with some of the limitations of agent mode. Bear in mind, it's only been out for a couple of months. You will sometimes find browser errors, like 404 error messages. Sometimes it clicks on the wrong thing. I've noticed in the last 6 weeks I've been using it, it seems to happen less and less. I think it's getting better. Another issue is session timeouts. Sometimes it will just time out for whatever reason if it's taking too long. Sometimes there's a speed issue. It takes time because it's going highly detailed research. It's not like the prompts that we're used to with GPT-4 where we get answers inside 3 seconds. It's doing some detailed stuff, some highly detailed research. Also, we just have to be aware of security issues. One of the prompts that I created inside the AI Academy was how we can use it to go into our accounting software, whether that's Xero, QBO. It can identify every single client file. For each client, it can identify are the bank feeds correctly connected or not, and then it produces a detailed CSV file listing all the clients, all the bank accounts, and the status of the bank feeds. I tested that earlier, works like a dream. But we do have to be aware of security issues because you do need to give it access. You will need to give it access to passwords. And so when it's things like that, what you want to do is take back control of the virtual browser. And that's easy to do. When I did it earlier, I got to the password bit and it said to me, I need to enter it. And so it took control back. I took control back. I just filled in the password details, and then I passed control back to ChatGPT. It finished off the task and did the analysis. Pretty powerful stuff. There's so much more I can talk about, but we'll perhaps get to some more advanced stuff in another session. Please let me know in the chat, what's the best thing that you've learned? It's great feedback for me to know what's been valuable. What have you learned? What's been useful? Bye for now.